It's finished Brentford 2, Tottenham 2, and Ange's first game in charge at the helm at Tottenham. A new era is here, and it was an exciting game, a game full of incidences and full of chances, but look, at the end it was a share of the spoils. The first half there were 4 goals, it was toing and froing. Tottenham taking the lead inside 15 minutes through Cuti Romero with a brilliant assist from Maddison, a lovely cross from a free kick. Then things took a turn for the worst after Romero was forced off through a concussion injury, and all of a sudden Brentford found themselves back in the game after a really controversial penalty given against Heung-min Son. A defensive calamity gave Brentford the lead through Johan Wissa. Sorry. And then Emerson Royale on the stroke of half-time, equalising with a brilliant pile driver from 25 yards in what was a very eventful first half. Second half was a bit slower. Tottenham, I would argue, had the better of that second half with probably a lot more possession. Second half was dominated by Tottenham, but again, a real lack of meaningful chances to really say that we deserve the victory. I think a 2-2 is probably a fair result in this game, but it's not a terrible result for Ange's first game in charge.
No, look, absolutely. I think, look, the second half didn't really live up to the first half. I mean, if it had done, it would have been it was even more of a roller coaster. I think, look, in that second half, we were better. We certainly dominated possession more in that second half than we did in the first. Look, for Ange's first game, we got off to an absolute flyer with Romero and that header. Obviously, shame, unfortunately, he came off. And then we kind of went to sleep a little bit. We were looking in that first half, they were exposing us down both wings. Emerson was obviously tucking into that position, but we weren't clever enough to try and pick that out. I'm not defending him. I think today Emerson was poor defensively, but obviously he got that goal. And it kind of set up the second half for a kind of humdinger, but it never really happened. We obviously got better. I think for me, Maddison and Basuma today were outstanding, especially, kind of carrying their pre-season form into it. Obviously, Basuma was man of the match, my man of the match, and did well because we thought, he was probably on his last warning before getting into the book, but he didn't. And what I liked as well in that second half, Ben Davies was about to come on, and then Ange told him to go and sit back down, and he brought Perisic on. Look, in both wings in that first half, they were very quiet. Son, Kulusevski and Richarlison were very quiet. Richarlison, quiet all game. I mean, he was probably feeding off some scraps, but when he did have the chances, he didn't really take them. I mean, that's what we wanted. We wanted that killer instinct. But look, I'm more than pleased with that from the first game. And it's encouraging going into the Man United game next week.
Yeah, I would say in terms of how the game panned out individually, I think the wingers, unfortunately, were a bit ineffective in this game, especially Son and Kulusevski. Although Kulusevski was growing in influence in the second half. First half, him and Son weren't really getting any joy out of Hickey and Rico Henry. Couldn't really take him on. And then the central areas were very congested. We tried our best to play our way through them, but it was very, very difficult without running into trouble with Brentford having essentially 3 defensive midfielders on the pitch for a lot of the game. It was a very difficult game to manage. Brentford were always a threat on the counter. What I was happy, though, is that in the first half, we were getting done on the counter and in transition, like time after time, and it did end up costing us. But second half, we had much better control of the game. I thought in possession we were very good. It was neat and tidy. We were able to keep possession while also providing a threat to Brentford as well. Richarlison having a couple of moments. But I think at the end of the day, Andrew will be a bit disappointed with probably the chances we created. It wasn't really enough. There weren't really clear opportunities. The 2 goals we scored, one from a set piece and one which was a goal out of nothing from Emerson Royale. So I wouldn't say it was a game where we created loads of chances. We had lots of shots and we had lots of attempts. If you look at the stats, I'll just bring them up now. Total shots, 11 to Brentford, 18 to Tottenham, 6 on target each. When it comes to corners, 6 to Tottenham, 3 to Brentford. They didn't have a single corner in that second half, Brentford. Big chances, though, 3 to Brentford, 1 to Tottenham. XG over the 90, 2.02 to Brentford, 1.26 to Tottenham. So by all accounts, the stats suggest Brentford probably had the better chances in the game. But if you look at how the halves played out, It was 1.62 in the first half of Brentford, 0.64 in the first half of Tottenham, and in the second half it was 0.39 to Brentford and 0.62 to Tottenham. So we kind of maintained our level going forward, and we performed much better defensively. If we go into individuals, yeah, I agree with you. Man of the match, Basuma, by a long way, in my opinion. I thought he's by far our best player. On possession, Brentford really struggled to deal with him. Like his ability to wriggle away from players and charge into space and open up the space for the likes of Maddison in the final third was really impressive. I thought it was a really great showing. And if he's going to be performing like that and from now to the end of the season, he's going to have a fantastic season. Maddison, brilliant Premier League debut from him, 2 assists to his name, and I thought he was really dangerous throughout the whole 90 minutes. Although there were spells in the second half, it was a bit quiet. I thought he had a really strong showing, so happy with his first display.
Yeah, look, 100%. Look, I think what we need now is we need to. I mean, obviously, I'm guessing. I don't know what the rules are, but I'm guessing Romero will be fine for Man United. And now the question mark is going to be, what do we do with Son and Richarlison? Do we change it up and put Son through the middle and have a Perisic or a Solomon on the left and see what kind of difference that makes? Because I think, look, the longer this continues, the longer, you know how quick these fans are to sit there. I'm sure they're already talking about Richie today and his kind of lack of performance today for whatever reason, whether that was down to him, whether that was down to the service that he made. But you're right, Sim, there wasn't many clear-cut chances and there wasn't many chances created. We obviously saw that one that Basuma put Richarlison through on goal, that Flecken saved, and then obviously there was that one at the end where if he just looked up, maybe shifted it and then hit it first time, it would have been really, really interesting. And then there's obviously the question, there's still 14 days left of the transfer window, a little bit longer, and then you're gonna see what, you know, is the Gift Orban links going to be coming into play? Who knows? But I think we definitely, look, considering what's happened this week with us losing Harry Kane, we certainly came out of the blocks, and look, we came out of the blocks fast. We certainly, you know, we let ourselves down by conceding those 2 goals, and look, Tottenham of old, let's just say, would have probably crumbled, and then we came back into that second half. And look, it was kind of just, I think you know, we haven't had the pre-season, tired legs, and everything else. So look, I think it probably, like you say, Brentford may have felt a bit aggrieved because they had the better chances, but a 2-2 result was probably fair in the end.
In terms of disappointments, Richarlison wasn't particularly effective during the game. He had 2 big chances in the game. Well, 2 chances, I would say, not even big chances, near the end. One good save from Flecken, and the other one wasn't able to shake off the Brentford backline. But if this was a performance to kind of calm us down about losing Harry Kane, it probably wasn't the one. It wasn't the best performance from Richarlison. Ineffective. But in positives, I thought Van de Ven had a pretty solid debut. I thought he was pretty good at centre-back, being thrown in at the deep end, and I thought he dealt with it pretty good. And I think there were some really confident moments where he was able to stride the midfield and turn on players pressing him, which was really good, a confident play for his first game. Destiny Udogie carried on his pre-season form, a really encouraging display again from left-back. So I think there were some definite positives. But, yeah, negatives, I would say Sanchez I didn't think was particularly amazing when he came on, albeit he did some good stuff. And Skip, I thought, struggled throughout the game quite badly. And as I say, Son, Richarlison were ineffective going forward as well. So a lot to chew on after that draw. Is it? Would you say a 2-2 draw first game? Is that a positive result, or is that 2 points dropped?
No, I think. Look, I think it's probably one. It was a fair result, and it's probably a positive result. Everyone was sitting there and saying we're going to go into that game. And we're gonna lose. And as soon as Brentford went 2-1 up, you thought, okay, the floodgates are going to open. Yeah, look, for me, there are a lot of questions, and I'm sure they'll work on it in training during the week. But obviously, I don't think we can afford to be exposed at the back like we were today against a better team. We know the kind of threat that Manchester United are going to carry next week, and obviously, if they get off to a flyer tomorrow, there's certainly going to be, in this, most teams, look, last season they were going down that right-hand side against Emerson. I think, look, we need to work the system. if Emerson's going to tuck inside, we need Skip and the Kulusevski to kind of think about where they need to be positional wise, because that's where we're going to get hit. And we saw that. Look, we saw that in the, you know, in all of the kind of games that we, you know, even against Shakhtar, they weren't the greatest opposition, but they were exposing us again down that right hand side. So look, that's something to work on. I'm sure Ange's going to work on it. But we need to be better in that kind of thing, and we need to create more chances. But look, for me, next weekend, Manchester United, we've got an extra day or so's rest. I'm really excited to be back at White Hart Lane next Saturday against Man United. It's going to be an incredible game, and look, I think, like I said today, I think there'll be more goals. Whether it'll fall on our side or not, I'm not sure. But it's encouraging that Maddison, you know, two goal contributions today. He had 20 in the whole of last season in a poor Leicester team. If he can create 2 chances per game or goal contributions per game, then we're going to be more than fine.
Yeah, I agree. So look, I think a lot of positives to take from the game. I do think in terms of Ange's first game in charge, it was like, look, it was not a bad result. I'll take it. I think Ange, I don't think he would have taken a draw before the game. I think as the game played out, I'd say it's more of a bad result than a good result, but I think you've got to take the positives out of the performance. We did play some good football. We're still going to take some time to get used to how to get used to Ange ball, but we didn't lose. I think we took control of the second half. We improved as the game went on as well. So I like our ability to kind of take control of the game. And although we were all at sea defensively, maybe in the first half, we kind of shored that up in the second half, which was definitely positive. Going forward, I think Ange will be a bit disappointed with our lack of ability to create chances in this game. He's going to have to work on that. We're going to have to make sure that Son and Kulusevski are much more effective in games, because they were kind of, apart from Kulusevski in the second half, Son in the first half and Richarlison just weren't involved really. I mean, they were involved, but they just weren't doing much. They couldn't really penetrate or hurt Brentford. So that's something that we're going to have to kind of work on for sure. But some encouraging signs from Maddison, Basuma, Udogie, Van de Ven. I thought they were some really good showings on their first Premier League outing. So there are some positives, some negatives. I think a draw is probably a fair result. And we'll move on to Man United. Look, we've got the post-match fan show coming on shortly, so stay tuned. If you want to check out and you want to have your say, come and join us and become a gold member, and you can come on the show and give your opinions on everything that happened today and anything else you want to give your opinions on. But Barry, thank you for joining me on the watch along. Always a pleasure, as always, having you in the studio. We'll be back soon for the post-match fan show, so stay tuned. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.